And we are live. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be the very first and official mini podcast that I'm doing on certain topics that I've been ruminating on for a very, very long time. They've been in my head. I've been just ranting to myself about these topics over and over and over again. So I decided to just put them out there because these are ideas. These are certain conversation points that I haven't heard anyone talk about before ever, with as many Twitter debates that I've been in. I do in fact pride myself on how many Twitter debates I've won. I'm 8 out of 10. That's my record. Eight times I'll be right. 2 times you'll get me. But today, first of all, I just want to start off by saying this is going to be a mini podcast series, probably no longer than an hour, no longer than really 20 or maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, to be honest, because these points are going to be very concise. It's not always going to be funny. It's just going to be me conversationally telling you my opinion on certain very complex social issues. Today I wanted to get on the song "A Wet Ass Pussy" by Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion. Okay, the video will be titled "WAP My Defense." My defense of this song is, first of all, I think people are taking this song way too seriously. Okay, like most people do whenever they want to, fuel their own ideals on everybody. But I mean, obviously it's a dumb song, but it's catchy. If you're telling me that it's not a catchy song, you just don't have the capacity for understanding like rhythm and just understanding sonically that it is a very catchy song. It doesn't mean it's good. There are tons of horrible songs that just get stuck in your head for absolutely no reason. I get it. Like when what was his name? When Lil Yachty did that tune for Sprite, "Cold Like a Sprite Soda," very catchy. My friends didn't like it when I sung it all the time. But I just don't. But I love how people are just taking the song so seriously. Okay, it's not as good as everyone says, and it's certainly not as bad as everyone says it is. I don't listen to it, but sonically I understand why it's popular. I don't listen to it personally. I think it's very, very annoying, and I think it's been overplayed like most, popular songs, but it's just sure, I get why you like this song, but far too many people, I believe, and this is very much, I think unfortunately the song has unfortunately become very politicized, especially because it's very close to the election, and people want to attack and people want to harbor. A lot of people, I believe, are actually holding this song a lot closer to their chest than they actually should be, simply because they know people with opposing political views like it. But people are just losing their minds. People are like people are treating the song like it's gospel, and then people are treating this, and then other people are treating the song like it's a text from the Satanic Bible. I think people are just blowing the song way out of proportion. Comparatively, for example, back in the day there was the Thong song by Cisco that won awards, but nobody took it that seriously. Right? "Party in the USA" by Miley Cyrus, or "Wrecking Ball," people made a joke out of it. It wasn't that serious. I mean, now whether you won awards for it or not, we all know that the music award show system is a bought and paid for popularity contest. Eminem has talked about it multiple times. We know that, as within most elections, be on a minimal to a very, very high level. A lot of it is popularity, and a lot of accolades go to people who don't deserve it. However, when we're talking about this song and compare it to other songs that weren't really taken that seriously, for example, Weird Al Yankovic. Now, understandably, his songs were supposed to be comedic, so you're measuring it from there. But I mean, the Thong song won awards. The Thong song by Cisco won awards, but it's not a serious song. And I love how, by the way, the conservatives are very, very upset at this song, and I understand. I lean in that direction. In a lot of cases, I also lean to a very liberal, which I think it should be. I think it should be a very, very well balanced. But people are treating this song like it's the most dangerous thing to ever happen. Like, I mean, if you take the song like a joke, you hear it better. You hear it way better if you think that she's just kidding. But I love how the people that hate this song think it's just so dangerous that it's going to people hate this song because they think it's going to set a bad example for women and little girls. That's what I'm hearing a lot about on the right. So my question is, what bad things do you think young women are going to learn from this song that they haven't already? These Christians, these people who hate this song, who think, okay, well, it's going to set a bad influence on very impressionable young girls. But like, what's funny is that, I mean, if you take a look at where we've been going as a country for the past 4, 5, 6, 7, a decade even, I mean, before WAP came out, women were already, I mean, having sex before marriage, which a lot of, Christians, a lot of conservatives, a lot of people on the right, see as reprehensible behavior. Women were already having sex before marriage. They were already doing that. They were already getting abortions, which conservatives also don't like. They were already doing those same exact dance moves you see in the WAP music video, almost exclusively in booty shorts and a crop top on TikTok. They already filmed cuties and put it on Netflix. Women were already reducing themselves to the vagina. Women were already effectively turning themselves into vending machines under the guise of female empowerment. Women were already scamming men on the internet and in real life out of thousands and thousands of dollars. Women were already being tricked into believing that becoming a webcam prostitute was lucrative, not knowing that they're really signing up for human trafficking. Women were already stripping butt naked in the middle of the street and calling it a protest. They were already doing that. Remember back then when they tried to starve themselves? Remember back then when that was the thing of being a model in the industry, where you literally had to smoke cigarettes and starve yourself? Women were already being told that being unhealthy was beautiful from both sides of the spectrum. They were, back in the day, a lot of people who would handle these women would encourage them to not eat. They needed to look thin. They needed to look bony in order to be considered beautiful. And now they have to look thick. They have to eat more. They have to exercise less. There's a lyric in that song, WAP. Literally, I have the lyrics in front of me, and it goes, "I don't cook, I don't clean, but let me tell you how I got this ring." I mean, where exactly did you think that the people who are just so upset that this song was going to be like, it's going to be the biggest thing that's ever, I mean, we've already gone too far. Have you? I mean, if you really spent enough time on the internet and you followed some dark shit, I mean, people were already unpackaging dolls made for children with special features like under like a troll's dress. There was like a video about that on the internet, where if you like press underneath the troll, it giggles. Like, where the, I mean, I love it when people on the internet say like, so you agree that Regina George meme, they fucking love doing that shit. Oh, so you agree, right? So they go, oh yeah, I mean, cleaning the kitchen and being able to cook food is like a very natural human thing, that it's a skill that everybody should know. You don't want to play that shit. Oh, so you agree? So you agree, a woman who sings about how she doesn't cook or clean, but she just rides dick. So you understand. So you agree that is not a good example to set for anybody, and that anybody who has legitimate criticism of the song is right. But it's not as if we haven't already gone off the deep end. There was an interview about the International Women's Year. Okay, some people were going around in, I believe, the 70s. I believe it's the 70s. Could be the 60s, but probably the 70s. They were interviewing random women on the street about, quote unquote, International Women's Year. Okay? And then a woman in that video, she specifically said this. She goes, "I think women are in great danger of being dominated by other women. They are told to liberate themselves by doing what other women want them to do. And to me, that's a great danger." That's literally what she says. And they go around and they ask other women, okay, so what do you believe, women's International Women's Year means for women? And the majority of the women go, it doesn't really mean anything for me. I just chill and live my life. I highly doubt that you would have really the same interaction with anyone this day and age. They didn't live their lives believing that they had to stand up for every single thing in the world. I mean, yes, you should stand on morals. You should have a fundamental belief system. But in terms of the women back then in liberty, they just genuinely didn't. They couldn't give a fuck less. They wanted to be treated just the same as anybody else, and that was what it was. Women fought for the right to choose to do whatever they want, and I believe that's fantastic. They should. And you can choose. You have choices now. Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B chose to make that song. Now, choices are allowed to be criticized. So I'm not going to say that every single conservative or every single person on the right does not have a legitimate criticism of this song. I do think that obviously this is not something that kids should be reciting. I've walked down the street and I've seen children dancing to this song and reciting the lyrics. I don't think that that's a good thing. But, I mean, at this point, we've already mentally screwed with people. I mean, I'm not surprised in any way, shape, or form. I denounce this song as much as I would denounce Thong Song. I would denounce kids listening to that. There used to be subtlety back then. I missed that, too. That's another thing, too. There used to be subtlety. That's a whole thing with, I mean, there are songs that come out, there are songs that I'll go back to and I'll listen and I'll be like, oh, that was about sex. There's none of that anymore. There's none of that. We went all the way from Too Close by Next to literally Wet Ass Pussy by Cardi B. You wouldn't even, I Ain't Too Proud to Beg by TLC. There are so many songs back then that had like so much subtlety that you would not even know it was about sex until you grew up to understand the lyrics and really listen to it. Back then you just loved the song, right? And that goes back into WAP, where it's okay, it's catchy, but I know exactly what it's about. So I mean, I highly doubt kids are gonna grow up and be like, oh, that's what that song was about when they're talking about WAP. I mean, people, they already have the wrong idea on everything. And where we are right now, later on, I'm sure there'll be more and more things and people will try, more and more abnormal things, and people will try to convince you should be normalized. I love hearing that word now, normalized. They love saying that word, normalized. We need to normalize everything now. Certain things shouldn't be normalized. I don't think we should normalize children singing and dancing to the song. Still a good song in terms of catchiness. Women have been debunking, quote unquote, patriarchal views and saying that cooking and cleaning is a basic thing you should know, and I agree. But I mean, riding dick and not knowing how to cook and clean is just, obviously, if you really look, I mean, there's nothing to aspire to be in that song. It's just a fun song. So I mean, that's really just it. I mean, we have a lot of work to do if we really want to latch on to. And then another thing too, in terms of the cuties thing, people were like, okay, well, if you don't like cuties, then you can't like dancing moms. That's a huge thing, right? And then people are using that as a way to call out the right and say, well, you don't actually care about, sexualizing children. You just are using this for political means and stuff like that. And we really need to stop this idea that just because something is not widely known about, that automatically means you support it. I had no idea what the fuck Dance Moms was, but I know what Cuties was because it was everywhere. There were no billboards. There are no billboards as we speak right now for Dance Moms, none that I know of. But yes, absolutely, we should denounce both things. But that was another thing too with with when people were talking about like defunding the police. There was a dumb tweet that was like, oh yeah, well, people think that defunding the police was such a radical concept, but they defunded Chicago schools and they gave that money to the police, right? So why are you? And they use that as a way to be like, okay, well, you shouldn't. I mean, well, obviously you should keep the same energy. And like, okay, so my question, again, another good question. Do you idiots really think that if you walked around with picket signs that said, let's defund Chicago schools and then give that money to the police, you wouldn't be getting that same backlash you're getting right now? If you proposed defunding the police, the same exact reaction you would. So just because people don't know that something is going on doesn't automatically mean that they support it. Obviously. No, people would not agree with you if you went up with signs and you gathered in the thousands during a pandemic and said, let's take all the money that we're barely giving to Chicago schools and give it to the police. I think that's a good idea. People will be like, no, let's be balanced on this. So I mean, the same thing, and a lot of people may not know about the dolls being given to children with secret stimulation buttons. There, not everybody knows about that, but they should, and it should be getting a lot of support and denounced. That's what I believe. I mean, there's not much else I really wanted to say on this. We're at 15 minutes, and which is ideal because this is not going to be. I never wanted this whole thing to be like an hour-long thing. This is just merely an introduction, but I will be having many, many more topics I'm going to get on. A lot of them will tackle the very big issues in society, but I mean, really, in terms of WAP, I kind of wanted to hit you guys with the soft one because I will be talking about some very, very heavy things in the following episodes. We're looking to release this every Wednesday. But, I mean, yeah, overall, I mean, it's not a horrible song. It's not a great song. And whatever you think women are going to learn from the song is stuff that they have been doing before the song. Now they have an anthem. At the very least, if webcam prostitution had a national anthem, like all the women in your high school who they say is a thought, if they had to every morning stand up and put their hand over not their heart but specifically their titty, this would be the song, and that's okay. So they get to do that. That's what they fought for, and that's fine. But let's not pretend that this is not a thing that wasn't already happening. So I mean, yeah, make it WAP. That's some wet and gushy. I mean, I mean, oh my God, all the girls that are on TikTok right now, they're just fucking dancing to this song, and they're underage. A lot of them are lying about it. I know for a fact, like a lot of the girls are lying on it, and it's not even as if we've caught them lying or anything like that. But just, I mean, the majority of people who start out young and get on social media, they did it with Vine, they did it with Twitter, they did it with Facebook, they did it with Instagram, and I can assure you they're doing it with TikTok. So we're already normalizing, quote unquote, normalizing this stuff. There was a guy actually who, I swear to God, he filmed his baby crawling on the floor, and then he put the WAP song over it on TikTok. If I have it, I will definitely play it at the end of this video. So, trigger warning. But Jesus Christ, I mean, yeah. Whoa. WAP. So, but, yeah. Turn it off. Don't, yeah. You think it's a bad song? I mean, turn it off and walk away. But I think it starts at home. If you really want to give people a better idea, I mean, the bar is so low. If you really want to heighten the bar, I mean, it easily just starts at home. Keeping your kids away from certain influences, putting your foot down as a parent, not letting society shame you into believing that you have to accept any and everything that that one specific quote unquote oppressed group says in order for you to not be considered a bigot, so that you think that you're a better parent. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, stop it with the sexualization and shit, but I even have a joke on stage about, us people not really taking it that seriously. I'm not going to give it away, but yeah. So, yeah. Well, I think that concludes this mini podcast. I'm not sure if I'm going to post this on Apple Podcasts or anything like that. I genuinely just wanted this to be something on YouTube to just release for free, honestly. Obviously, putting it on podcasts is for free, but you know how people usually build up and they put it on Patreon or anything like that. Like, I mean, I would love to have a Patreon eventually, but God willing, I have a big enough fan base to even put special content out there for people who would be so generous and such a fan that they'd be willing to pay for my content, that'd be fantastic. But for right now, definitely on YouTube in a very mini series. But thank you to everyone listening, and I appreciate you sticking all the way through. And we will be back with more opinions. Thank you so much.
And I consider a liberated woman is a woman who does what she wants to do, thinks for herself, lives as she wishes, and is not dominated by male thinking. Also, particularly, of course, a woman in industry earning as much as a man.
But do you think women's liberation is a good thing?
I'm very sceptical about some of the extremes it's carried to. I think women are in great danger of being dominated by women, being told to liberate themselves by doing what other women want them to do. That to me is a great danger, the whole scheme.
Will you be doing anything to participate in International Women's Year?
Not particularly, because I think that in a way there's too much made of it, that it should be just accepted as it is. Women are becoming far too dominant, so that they're going to end up being women chauvinists.